Ken Kraetzer for CBSI Services, Talking Business, a special recap of the Money 2020 Moneyfest webinar, 4-day event that was held July 20th to the 23rd with an international assembly of speakers from the United States, Europe, India, Hong Kong, Australia, all experts in financial services, marketing, and Fintechs. Some of the key topics about how do you provide enhanced customer experience that can draw new customers to a Fintech or to a traditional bank. Cloud computing that can back up and support that type of enhanced experience provided to customers. The limitations of traditional banking and financial service companies due to legacy systems that often go back decades, and the opportunity of embedded finance, both banking and insurance products based on co-branding and private label service, all that can be conducted in the Fintech environment. And all of this while we are in a new era of cyber attacks and ransomware concerns. And have to start with a talk by Nicole, the cybersecurity reporter for the New York Times, who also the author of a book, This Is How They Tell Me the World Ends, who provided a sobering assessment of ransomware attacks that are increasing both in number and sophistication. But she did say that banks are ahead of many other industries in cyber defense preparation. Banks have been on top of protecting data, and in most cases, spending what it takes to keep their data secure. But as we saw recently, cyberware attacks in the United States on an oil pipeline company and a meatpacking company, she's concerned that more factories are going to be attacked than, of course, a concern about grids, electrical power grids in particular. She recommends two-factor authentication, establishment of minimum cyber standards for businesses, especially those that do business with the U.S. federal government, and sharing of expertise from the National Security Agency to major financial service institutions so they can stay on top of what potential threats are on cyber hacking and ransomware. Now, going back to some of the marketing talks, Amee Parbhoo of Accion discussed the values and importance of providing financial services to 3 billion underserved around the world, something we're hearing a lot about this year in various conferences. Anthony Jenkins of UK-based 10X Future Technology said, customers are expecting extraordinary digital experiences. COVID has accelerated the adoption of digital practices, but that big tech firms are limited, again, by layers of legacy systems, and the age-old problem of identifying customers who have multiple accounts on the same database, something I worked on years ago in securities marketing. Recommended embedded finance to produce win-win situations. Now, Marvin Liao of Game Groove Capital described that the pandemic has encouraged many customers to get comfortable with technology. Alokik of Advani of Fidelity International Strategic Ventures discussed when to take a brand global, suggesting brands need to define the market outside their country, what the ease of access will be, expectations for customer experience, and the ability to aggregate data for each customer. Vanessa Colella of Citi described that COVID led them to make loans for the first time and investments to people they had not met before in person, which had been a standard part of the process, and also spoke about the need to help finance small businesses that are involved with international trade and have to operate with the variables of distant supply chains. And another priority at Citi was maintaining their internship program during the pandemic, a way for them to interest prospective students in opportunities at the bank, and also, they say, attract leadership for the future. So they worked hard to do a virtual internship program at Citi. Steve Munford of Trulico described tremendous demand for their identification service during the pandemic, which necessitated hiring new staff, which they did virtually, and bringing them in to work off-site at homes, and the attraction being the fast pace of their business at Trulico. We heard from two speakers in Amsterdam. From Europe, Connie Dorestin of Bankify and Duwin Lakalama of InnoPay. They outlined a paper by Gil Reglin of SMI Consulting that looks at where financial services will be in 2050, given different geopolitical scenarios. And interesting analysis that they did. As hard as it is to predict 30 years out, they looked at some possible scenarios, good, and also ones that maybe are more threatening. Then we heard from high energy young executive Jessica Lam of Hong Kong-based institution WeLab, describing the importance of having a viable business model that with scale is profitable over time. And then we went to India and heard from Osborne Saldana of Emphasis Ventures. He discussed different ways to provide embedded finance. And he talked about 3 different ways: private label programs that the customer experience is owned primarily by a marketing brand, co-branded, which is split between the marketing company and the financial provider, and lead generating models that are primarily set up with a financial firm. And then Anthony Notes of Sydney, Australia-based WISR discussed how to value fintechs and said that firms need to show competitive advantage that is sustainable and systematic in order to receive a high valuation. Emmeline Shaw of US-based Flourish Ventures cited embedded insurance as an opportunity, but also saying that there's a need for new products. And the industry is held back by high costs to maintain legacy data systems. Recommended a hybrid cloud approach that would utilize the flexibility of cloud capability, and while still maintaining data on an existing legacy system. Rebecca Mann of Western Union described that collecting feedback from coworkers and acting on it. And Shelley Swanback, also Western Union, 2 speakers from the company, described creating innovation around the customer. Ron Shevlin of Cornerstone Advisors had a lively set of comments and talked about, even with digital approaches, customers need more help making decisions. Boy, do we see that all the time. And Milan Mihir of Yield Street described the importance of being able to aggregate customers, bring numbers of customers in, and have the data that you need to provide them service. Melissa Gray of Arbor Ventures described her time spent in Asia, although she's back in the United States now, described the quality of banking stacks coming out of China and the processing companies, Jack Henry and FIS, that provide banking as a service, as a way for smaller banks. I know we're talking to community banks that are utilized, I've mentioned companies like that, as a way to stay competitive. Charles Birnbaum of Bessemer Venture Partners described that behind every fintech is a legacy bank. So just a couple of key points, takeaways from the Money 2020 Moneyfest, that was July 20th to the 23rd. Provide data security, whatever it takes. Provide engaging customer experience. Cloud hybrid model could be the way to offer new services in an innovative and timely manner. And consider embedded finance, both banking and insurance, to bring new products to customers in a fintech era. So many thanks to the team at Money 2020, led by their editor-in-chief, Sanjay Kalita, and all their team that we enjoyed listening to their presentations and intros and highlights. And Money 2020 will host their first in-person post-COVID event in the United States, a conference October 24th to the 27th in Las Vegas that we know will be very well attended. So again, this is Ken Kraetzer for CBSI Services on our CBSI Talking Business series. We provide insurance-based benefits to the credit card and payments industry, and I'm in my home office in White Plains, New York. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.